was the cataclysmic financial crisis, which was looming in front of us. And the other, which I think was something we had to come to grips with, is that the growth of the company and the unbelievable success that we had for about 15 years covered up mistakes. And those mistakes were kind of driven by the fact that we were opening stores without the same level of discipline. Another way of saying it is we were measuring and rewarding the wrong things. And when I returned in January of 2008, what I was determined to do was not only to transform the company in terms of the customer experience, but also do it in a way that would preserve the values and guiding principles of the company.
What kind of mistakes were being made that were masked really by growth?
I think primarily, and I don't think this is an anomaly, is that when you're managing a public company, there are times when you're starting to make decisions that are intertwined with the stock price. And as a result of that, you're trying to satisfy multiple constituents. And I just think we had to get back to satisfying the most important, which is the customer. So with fanatical focus, we came right back to the core. And that was the customer experience. You
see, in your book, you talk about, quote, focusing on core values and also, quote, reigniting innovation. There's got to be something more to it than that. I mean, that's the kind of stuff you get from a $10 management book.
Actually not. You know, Starbucks is not a company that is based on technology. And almost quintessentially, we built the company by the customer experience, what happens in our stores. We had to get back to what it is we do. And it's not fancy, it's not sexy, it's old-fashioned. And that is satisfying and exceeding the expectations of our customers. However, we also had to reignite the entrepreneurial spirit of the company and push for innovation. I think great entrepreneurs have the curiosity to see around corners and the courage to execute. We did all of that. Starbucks Via, the instant coffee, is an example of that. We closed underperforming stores, and it's not an accident. The last 12 months is the best performing year in our history, and last quarter was the best performing quarter in our 40-year history. And the same thing is happening here in the UK.
Right, because it can't just be the economic recovery, can it? Because frankly, there hasn't been much of an economic recovery. You know, that's why I doubted that the so-called credit crunch was really behind your downfall. Because, you know, let's face it, okay, things were bad. Did people really stop buying a cup of coffee?
They didn't stop buying. They stopped coming as often. And as a result of that, we had to kind of reignite the passion in the experience.
Well, you talked about the share price there, and that you shouldn't chase the share price. Let's have a look at it here. Now, you can see from 2000 there in the bottom left-hand corner, you had that great run, and then whoops, something started to go really seriously wrong. It looks a bit like a ski slope. And
not a bad chart for the last 2 years, though.
Yeah, well, that's the point. From it's not there on the graph, but you can see the bottom of the chart there on the right-hand side. That was about 2008. So that was about $8 a share. And since then, you've lifted it all the way to about $36 a share. So you've had a great run. But how do you keep that going? Because I noticed also in your book, you talked about cutting costs, taking out the fat. Well, you can only do that once. You can't keep cutting costs because
no. I mean, you can't cut your way to prosperity. You have to create growth and opportunity. Perhaps the best metric to create value in a retail company, obviously, is comp store sales. We're experiencing significant growth in our comp store sales here in the UK.
When you say comp, you mean comparable?
Yes.
Right.
And so for 8 consecutive quarters here in the UK, positive. A fantastic year within the US.
That's interesting because a couple of years ago, maybe last year, you were pretty disparaging about the UK's prospects. You said it was going in a downhill spiral. You upset the last government.
You have to bring that up.
Have we? I'm afraid we do. Have we? Do you detect a recovery? No. Are we out of the spiral?
Well, let me try and state it very clearly. The cataclysmic financial crisis brought tremendous pressure to not only Starbucks but every consumer brand. But we had to navigate through that storm. And what I said to our people as well as our shareholders is we cannot use the economy as an excuse. Yeah. And as a result of that, we went back to exceeding the expectations of our customers, creating a great experience, positioning Starbucks coffee as it always has been, and that is the world's best quality coffee. In addition to that, creating relevant innovation, both in our stores and new products. And what you've seen as a result of all this is a significant transformation in the company that is highly sustainable.
You've done a pretty good job at dodging that question. Do you feel that the UK is now out of that spiral that you referred to whenever it was 2 years ago?
Listen, I'm not an economist. I think that...
Well, what are your shops telling you? What are the sales telling you?
I think that we're experiencing significant growth and development despite the fact...
In the UK?
Yes. Right. Despite the fact that the economy both here and in America is still fairly fragile. I mean, with 8% unemployment here and 9% unemployment in the U.S.,
it's tough.
This is tough times.
I've got to ask you this. I did read the book, and it was a fun read, and I learned a lot. But a couple of things you said in there, quote, it's your relationship with the company, really. You said, quote, representing the company Starbucks is my life. You also said, quote, you want to work with people, quote, who think of each other as family. Are you in danger of sort of losing perspective, becoming a bit of a Starbucks sado?
No. I've been on a book tour the last 2.5 weeks, and the first thing I say when I'm giving these speeches is I want to introduce a word to you that's not generally used in business, and the word is love. I love this company. I would do anything to defend it and to enhance it. I feel a deep sense of personal responsibility to 200,000 people and their families who are relying on us to create value, and shareholders.
Right.
And I think it is about creating a different kind of company. Starbucks was created in a different way, and that was to achieve balance between profitability and a social conscience. When we gave equity in the form of stock options to all our people in the UK, people said, how could you do that? It's so dilutive. But it's not dilutive when you're adding value to shareholders as a result of taking care of your people.
Right. I've got to say, Howard Schultz, I can feel the love. Not personally, but for the company.
Yeah.
Nice to see you. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks, Jeff. Thank you.